everything is much more precarious. And I think that, what are people's most dire needs, right? Food and shelter, right? Being able to provide for their families. And we see, that there was a statewide rent moratorium, but I was seeing people come in every single day with threats from their landlords, and not being able to have access to the proper information or the proper legal representation to be able to say, hey, actually, I have rights under this moment. Even if I can't pay my rent now, that doesn't mean that I should be being threatened with eviction. And I think, obviously there's a financial aspect of not being able to pay your rent, or trying and choosing to not pay some things over others because of this sort of tension. But obviously there's the mental health aspect, right? Not only are you worried about contracting a very deadly virus that affects disproportionately the community that we're working with, right? And that at the workplace, there aren't being sufficient health measures put in place, sufficient personal protective equipment to keep folks safe. A lot of hush hush, right? You can't tell the other person that you got COVID, no one else says, and then everyone gets infected, right? We were seeing a lot of that. And so I think the compounding stress of a public health crisis and not being able to pay your bills, I think we have still not begun to see how terrible it really has been for the local community. And I also believe there are a lot of people who've been taking advantage of this moment, right? A lot of workplaces, a lot of landlords, proprietors, all of these things that I think make people believe that they have less and that they're worth less. But I think that that's one part. And then the other part is, part of our application process, we asked for phone numbers, and there were, out of the over 600 people who applied, I would say 50 to 100, their phones were out of service, right? By the time we were able to service them. And so they chose, and we know that they chose to let their phones go off, to pay for food, to pay for rent, to pay for all these things. And then we no longer had access to those folks to be able to give them the information that they wanted and they needed, right? And I remember having so many conversations with folks, because we weren't giving away a lot of money, to each individual family. We were giving away $250. And I would engage in conversation and say, I know this isn't the end all be all. I know this doesn't solve all your financial issues. I hope this helps. And what other issues and concerns that you have? How else can I plug you into resources? And large and by far, everyone was like, I can't pay my rent. I can't pay my rent. I can't pay my rent. My landlord's telling me this. And so as a non-lawyer, I had to advise them and say, look, you have these certain rights. These are certain steps that you can take. And so we were helpful, but like to the people who we weren't able to even access because we were too late,